Sturgeon River Parkland.
Mr. Speaker, the Commissioner for the RCMP, Brenda Lucki, just gave shocking testimony at committee which contradicts a key claim from this Liberal government. For weeks, the Minister of Public Safety has claimed that law enforcement asked the government to invoke the Emergencies Act. In fact, on May 3rd, the Minister said he acted on the recommendations of law enforcement. But Commissioner Lucki testified that the RCMP never asked this government to invoke the Act. Will the Minister tell Canadians who in law enforcement asked the government to invoke the Emergencies Act, or will he admit he just made it up?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Speaker, let me take the opportunity to refresh my honourable colleague's memory with what Commissioner Lucki actually said at the committee. She said that the Emergencies Act allowed police to maintain a security perimeter and refuse entry of individuals traveling to the illegal protest with the intent of participating. She said it gave police the enforcement authority to arrest individuals who continue to supply fuel, food, and other materials. She said it gave police new powers, Mr. Speaker, to compel individuals to provide essential goods and or services for their removal. That's what the Commissioner said, Mr. Speaker, not the paraphrasing.
The Honourable Member for Sturgeon River Parkland.
Well, Mr. Speaker, in further shocking testimony, the RCMP Commissioner admitted at committee that border protests were cleared without using any powers under the Emergencies Act. Well, on May 3rd, the Minister said that they needed to invoke the Act to clear the border. Clearly, the Minister and the Commissioner can't both be right. So will the Minister tell Canadians, is the RCMP Commissioner misleading Canadians, or is he?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
I'll tell this chamber who's misleading Canadians. It's that honourable colleague over there who continues to paraphrase very recklessly and inaccurately the actual testimony of the Commissioner who said that she used the Emergencies Act to restore public safety, Mr. Speaker, and we will continue to be transparent with all members of this chamber and all Canadians about why it is that we invoked that act. It was to protect Canadians.
Now we're having vigorous debate. There's some vigorous debate here. Order. Order. All right. Let's hold on.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The testimony of the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to the Parliamentary Committee flatly contradicts the Liberal government's position. For several weeks, the Minister of Public Safety and the Prime Minister have been saying that law enforcement had asked the government to invoke the Emergency Measures Act. Indeed, on the 3rd of May, the Minister said that he acted on the recommendation of law enforcement, but Commissioner Lucki testified that the RCMP never asked the government to invoke the Act in the first place. Can the Minister tell us who asked to invoke the Act, or will he admit that he made it all up? The Honourable Minister for Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, as I have already mentioned a few times, the testimony of the RCMP commissioners at the invocation of the Emergency Measures Act was there to help to restore public safety. It offered new powers and new authorities to police bodies in order to protect the health and safety and security of Canadians. That is the reason for which we invoked the Emergency Measures Act. The Honourable Member for Charlebourg-Haute-Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, will the Minister deny that the RCMP Commissioner, in her testimony, mentioned that the police did not need the Emergency Measures Act in order to clear the border? Perhaps it helped other things, but the most important thing is that the Commissioner confirmed that the RCMP did not need to use the EMA to clear the border. Is that right? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister for Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, the testimony from the RCMP Commissioner was that the Emergency Measures Act dissuaded illegal protests and illegal protesters from going back to that community because these were illegal protests. The events were very clear. It's the Conservatives, and only the Conservatives, who seem to not understand the severity of the situation for which we invoked the Emergency Measures Act, that we invoked for the protection of Canadians.